Okay, Brian from Garage Mall. So this is the Gym Pack crate, and as you can tell, it is pretty large. And then that is going to be the bench that has your leg curl, leg extension on it. So they are rather big. Let me get a tape measure to kind of like show you exactly. Okay, so measuring across, this crate is basically 88 inches. That is how big it is on this side. So from that side to this side, the crate is 65 inches, or basically 5 feet 5. And then it's sitting on one of those plastic pallets. So I'll give you kind of an idea. It is also basically about 20 and a half inches high. So that's for that crate. So to say the least, it will definitely fit in one entire bay of your garage. And again, give you kind of an idea. That is my door. And it came on a lift gate, one guy, so I definitely had to help to get this big crate off. And the entire shipment was 1,100 pounds, just to kind of give you an idea. It is very large and heavy. So be prepared, and you will have to set up a residential delivery. At the time, they will call you, email you, whatever your preferred contact information is to set up the delivery. So obviously make sure that you have, obviously you're buying this equipment, you're pretty able-bodied, but if you are not, make sure you have somebody that is available to definitely help the driver, because they usually don't send teams of 2. Rare occasion nowadays, it's usually a team of 1. And again, the only help that I really provided was helping this from not sliding off the truck, because my driveway is kind of steep as it goes up. So I was there to kind of like help balance it, per se, to keep it from sliding off the back of the truck. So just be prepared for that part of it. Okay, let's open these crates up. And hopefully the crate will come logoed with the equipment that's inside it, just so you can kind of have a better idea of what you are receiving. And again, as a small business, just reaching out there, having these manufactured in China, they will take anywhere from 30 to 90 days. I know, I hate to tell you that. Small business, so I'm just trying to, obviously, my little work area is full, working on getting some warehousing here in the United States, since I have these built in China. So hopefully you guys and girls, be patient with me on the shipping process. I assure you it's absolutely worth the wait, and you're helping out a small business, so I can speed things up as obviously we sell more of these. Anyway. Okay, so how you open a crate is basically you're going to need a hammer, and you're going to need kind of like a mini crowbar, something ideally that has like the end to hit on it. And you are going to each one of these pegs. And you're hitting up on it. So you kind of peel underneath it, and then you're hitting up. And then you're just working up each tab a little bit. Then get on the edge. And basically what you're looking to do is to free that tab up. Each one's going to be a little different. Some are going to be easier, some are going to be harder. But if you get underneath and just start working that up. Ideally, you want to get behind this metal and pry it away so you can lift it basically straight up. Anyway, rinse and repeat all the way around. Okay, so once opened, this is the contents of the gym. So you can see the power cage, the outline of it. The weight stacks look like they're right there. And then over there is going to be the bench and some additional weights and stuff that's packed in there. So kind of give you an idea. So if you're getting the power cage and the leg extension, leg curl, adjustable bench, these are all the contents that you're going to be looking for. So we'll unwrap them and then we'll get started with the whole assembly. So stay tuned. Okay, so after you are done unwrapping everything, you're going to have a pile of, it's like packing material that's left over. Yeah, it's a lot, but it is what it is. It helps keep the finish perfect on there. And you definitely want to get one of these, a zip snip. So the zip snip makes getting through this packing material like super easy. So basically what I was doing is just kind of grabbing it, grabbing the start button, and then it like cuts through this like butter. And when you run across tape, the same thing. So if you get a nice long seam, you can see how this will cut right through it. It beats trying to go through with like a razor blade or scissors or something. Like I said, it cuts it super easy. And areas that you have some tape, same thing. So definitely get one of these. This will help unpacking, making unpacking this so much easier. All right, so we got a few items left here in the box we will be using shortly, but we don't need them just yet. And the same thing, we have the boxes of the plates, which we still have not used. And I kind of have stuff spread out all over here in the studio. So those are some accessories that we have right there. So those are the bars that the plates run on. And then these are the adjustable pulley system. So you kind of want to have it set up like this. So I have it, basically, you would have it leaning against the wall. I have it leaning against my step mill. And I have it leaned against my my beloved posters, but that just kind of like worked out the way that did. So you have the bag of accessories here, pulleys there, and then you want to lay out your pieces in such the manner. So this piece has your landmine attachment that goes there. This side will be the row. The side of my studio, I'm probably gonna have some problems with the row, but that's okay. Because on the inside here, we can set that up as an alternate location to do the row with as well. So these are how the pegs are sitting on the inside. So you can make sure that you have that configured correctly. That back pulley bar is going to be set up here. And again, the bolts are basically set up and included right there. This piece right here will be going on the top. That is another cross member. And then obviously that is your pull-up bar, which is going to extend to the front of the top of that, just to give you some idea. So let's go ahead and start the assembly. Okay, so we are going to be starting over on this side, and you'll need a 17mm box wrench and then a 17mm socket to kind of make things a little bit easier. And then what I'm going to be doing is loosening these two up and then attaching this one cross member to get this piece stable. And then I'm going to work on that side, and then we'll have the frame basically done. So stay tuned. Okay, so in kind of position, so I'm basically going to use this to unloosen these bolts. And they're kind of just on there hand tight, so pretty easy. basically have this up. Now this part, it's a little difficult by yourself, but if you push this up and into position nice and easy, don't rock it too much, and put some of your weight on this and lean your shoulder into it, you can kind of maneuver it around so you can kind of do it yourself. We're going to line that back one up, and we're just going to kind of put the thread on there nice and easy. Just hand tight. Then we're going to help position this one into place. And then you want to tighten these down just on the snug side so it holds everything together. And then at the end we'll do a nice and tight fit, but we don't want this like super tight in case we have to loosen this up later on. And you want to have enough threads tightened so it's going to basically help hold that into place. And then basically what we're going to do is turn ourselves over to this side, and we're basically going to do the same thing. And like I said, it's kind of stable, but it's unstable at the same time, so definitely be careful while you're doing this part. And again, we will loosen these up. And if you find them hand tight, you just gotta, or a little bit tighter than hand tight, you gotta maneuver it into place. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push this up and into place, and I'm gonna have to slide it a little bit closer. So, again, safer with two people. So I'm gonna get this positioned over. Okay, and again, balance it here on my shoulder and my knee, and we get this a little bit closer. Then we'll get this nut in here, get that started. And this one as well. I'm just going to move that a little bit with my knee. And still make sure you stabilize it. I'm just gonna get this snug, not super tight. Like I said, if we have to move it a little bit, jostle it around. So that's good enough. That's gonna hold. Okay, so since this is a little on the high side, I'm gonna be using a bench to help get me a little bit better height. I'm going to loosen those bolts, and then we will mount the top part, which is basically your pull-up section. So make sure you have this piece obviously available. Okay, so what I'm going to do is basically lift this up, and I'm going to hand tighten one side, then go over and support the other side. So again, two people definitely makes it easier.
side.
And again, we got that kind of bolted in place. Much easier with two people, but that's how you can do it by yourself. Safety first. All right, and just make sure that the threads do go through the nuts on the other side, just so like 1 or 2 threads is going through. That way it holds it, so if you have to reposition your cage, you can do that safely. Okay, now we got it set up so we can fine tune our position, make some last minute measurements before we put it in the exact position they need it. Bolts and nuts are snug, not super tight, so you have some flexibility in movement. So anyway, stay tuned. Okay, for this next part, what I did is I disconnected this bolt, which is basically on top of this bar. So it's also a 17 millimeter. So you want to disconnect that, and then you want to come down to the bottom, and there's another 17 millimeter bolt that's underneath that. You're going to disconnect that so you can take this entire piece off. Do one at a time so you don't forget the sequence of how the spring and everything is set up on that, because then we are going to attach our Smith bar. So kind of give you an idea, we're going to attach this to that, and the only way to really do that is you have to disconnect it completely to get to that rail piece. So I'm probably not going to talk through this because I'll be concentrating, but just basically follow along, and pretty simple. All right, so that's your shorter bolt on the bottom, and then you are basically lifting this bar out and up, and then try to keep everything together, and then you can lean it on the uprights. And then what we're going to do is, so on this side you kind of have this little break point, and what that's going to do is that's going to stop you from sliding all the way back. So it's another safety catch, which is really cool on this. So we're going to have that side down, and then you want to have this set up so let me get the best angle. So that is going to be behind you, and the hook is going to be in front of you. So all right, so you can see how I slid that one side on. So we are going to get set up for the other side, but first we're going to put this one back together. So we're going to kind of like set it in this little position there. All right, so basically on this side, we're basically going to take that bolt out, which I've done already. I'm going to lift this pole completely out. And stabilize it on these pegs. And then we're just going to basically keep order of this whole section piece. So just kind of so you can see. So you got a spacer, a spring, spacer, then this other little safety mechanism, and then a spacer at the bottom. Okay, now we're gonna cross this over and hold it. Put this rod through. All right, so for some added safety, what we're going to do is we're going to put this longer bolt on top of this bar to hold all of that in place. And just put a couple threads in to kind of like hold that. And then we're going to come back over to this bar and we are going to, okay, so we're going to lift this piece up. We're going to put that spacer, spring, and we can kind of shimmy that in place. And then just line it up on that other hole. We'll take this longer bolt. Got that kind of pretty well lined up. So that's it all the way at the bottom. Now let's just slide it up a little bit and hook it. Make sure everything looks like it's lined up properly. Back up, line that up properly. All right, so line up the bottom bolts. All right, and then we'll go to the other side. All right, now we can tighten up the top ones. Okay, so next, I'm just making sure we have a nice smooth operation all the way up and down. Nice catch hook. Everything looks nice and tight. That's good. And again, I absolutely love this little safety feature back here. So when you're doing a squat or something, it's not going to slide back on you. It's going to be nice, safe, and secure. And then you have this extra bit of safety where you can set up like your safety stops, you know, whatever point you want. That's a nice little added feature for you. So yeah, all right, let's move on to the next step. All right, so what we have on the sides is we have these weight plate holders. So they basically go in these holes here, and you got a bolt on this side that bolts in. They do have a tendency to move during shipping, but you take a 4mm Allen key, and then you want to put it into that hole in the back. You want to give it a little bit of a twist counterclockwise, and that is going to open up your sleeve, so you can put it in here, and then line up your bolt, and then you basically tighten it down. Then what I like to do is I give a little twist to my hand, grip it really good. Then when you're 17mm, just give it a little, about quarter to half a turn, lock it in place. And then we line this up in the back. And then we basically twist our 4mm Allen key, and you'll feel it kind of like catch in the back. Then that is your plate holder in the back, so you're good to go. Okay, so we're on to the next step, and it's basically going to be this. I'll zoom in so you can kind of see. So see how you have the pulley system that's going to be going up. This piece is flat, and then it has a slight curve to it, if you can kind of like see that under there. So pay attention to this. And then 2 pages over, it's going to be the assembly of that section right here on top. And then you're going to have that downward piece, and then you're going to have this rear bracket that you're going to be putting onto the frame. We are actually going to be putting this bracket on first, and then we'll put this one on second after we connect that lower piece. So I'm going to be kind of doing it a little bit out of order, just to kind of give you, you know, a general idea of how that's going to work. But let me give you the visual. So you are going to be working on this piece here. So this is basically going to go towards the back, the double pulleys. Then this is going to mount up front to here. So this piece right here is going to mount to there. And then this bottom piece is going to mount. Bring this up. And then this flat piece is going to mount here, where these 2 bolts are. And then you're going to have the slant that is going to be basically working its way kind of like sideways. You'll kind of see it better once I have this attached. Okay, so again, from the instructions, you can kind of see the angle of that. So we have the double pulley that's in the back towards this piece, and we are basically going to be mounting this. So the slant is kind of like facing down. It'll make a little bit more sense once we bolt that in. But let's get these undone, and make sure you put a washer on each side. Okay, we'll go through here, stop position, and then we'll put a washer and a bolt behind. And same on the bottom. And we'll get our tools. And we'll make this and we'll make it snug. We're not going to make it super tight at this point. Just so it fits in a position and we have some flexibility. And again, we'll tighten up everything at the very end for safety, for assembly purposes. And again, if you have this backwards, we'll know, and you can definitely change it around pretty easily. And then, again, next, we're going to jump over. We're going to put that back support bracket, which is basically this piece right here. And we're going to have that mounted up, and then again, we'll have that the bolts facing the direction we need it. All right, so we are going to loosen up these bolts on top and be able to get this bracket into place. All right, so it really doesn't matter what side is facing out, but if you're familiar with welding, there's a little gas hole that's in the back of this, so you can kind of like look for that. But again, not 100% critical what side it goes on. So we'll move this into place. Get this one started here, and just a couple threads again. Just enough that we're going to be able to hold it there. And then again, why we don't tighten up everything completely yet. Bottom screw started. Now bring this other bottom in. Top one put in. And again, let's just snug these down completely so it's safe. All right, then on this back part, same thing. We'll loosen these bolts up. So we're ready to put them into position. And we have these top bolts as well that are going to be holding on to that front piece of the pulley system. So we're going to loosen those up and get them off completely. Now here we're going to test to make sure we have the angle right on that one piece. So we're going to loosely hold this up in the air. So looks like we have our angle right. So we can go ahead and put a couple bolts in to hold everything in its spot. Put a bolt in towards the top. We have everything tightened down, basically kind of snug, but not all the way tight, just so we have room for some air, some shifting to make sure that everything is going to fit perfectly. Next, we are going to be putting the weight slides in and the carriage. So that's the next set of the directions is back here. And you want to get this piece. This is going to be your slide, and this is how it's going to be facing. Because obviously this way you're not going to be able to get a 45-pound plate on this. So we want to swing this way, and you want to slide it down the slides, and as you put it into the hole at the bottom of the platform. A little easier said than done, but you can do it. Slide this down on that side. Get the other post lined up. So into that kind of configuration. Slide the carriage down. Once you got these, once you have the rails in place in the back, you want to lift this up. we're basically lining that up to the 2 holes. Make sure the seat's on here, and then now you can kind of secure everything back into place, starting with these 2 bolts, and then you can secure the slide rails. Okay, and just make sure you got a good travel point. Just make sure that you run this up and down the rails. Make sure that everything seems like it's in good shape. And at this point, obviously make sure you do have enough clearance between putting a plate on and your wall. You can do that by simply putting a plate on there and making sure that you have enough distance away from the back wall so your weights can slide freely up and down. Make sure that there's nothing away, no pictures like I have hanging up, nothing protruding at all. So again, a 45-pound plate is a good measure. 8 inches on center to the outside is exactly how much clearance you need. So look for like 8.5, 9 inches just to be on the safer side. So yeah, so that part is basically done. Now make sure that you put your bolts on the top and bottom of each rail. There is enough clearance underneath to get to that and as well as on top. So you should have 4 bolts. Oh, before you put the rear carriage on, make sure you get the thicker rubber boots. All right, actually, you can see these 2 here. So get the thicker ones, and those will actually go down here first, and then you put like the skid on top of that. So the bottom skid should look like that with the 2 little bumper plates underneath. And again, you're not going to be dropping the weight. You want to have control over the weight, but accidents happen. So, okay, next is going to be the weight stack, and this is what the completed weight stack will look like. And always remember to make sure you got the bumpers at the bottom. So that is your stack, and then it has like your head weight here, and then it has your additional weights here. So each pack weighs 12.5, roughly 12.5 pounds. It's like 12.4. Some of them are 12.5. So you have some variation, just like you do in cast iron plates. These are plastic and cement filled. So make sure that you're not crashing these plates down. So it's another way to keep this unit economical. And the reason why you have this on the other side is you can add your Olympic plates. Try and make them even on both sides. So you can make 5-pound increments, 2.5, 2.5 to keep it even, 10-pound increments, 5 and 5, 20-pound, 10 and 10, just to keep it balanced and straight. Make sure that you do run some WD-40 on these rods initially to help them slide a lot better, as well as to keep them from corrosion resistant. And then, so on your stack, you are going to need basically all these. You're going to need all the plates. Like I said, they're about 12.5 pounds each. The 2 bumper guards, the slide pin, the top, the head weight, and these 2 screws. So on the end of the chrome rods, you're going to find all the screws, and you're going to be looking for basically the 4 rods. Each of them have so you have 2 with the longer screw, 2 with the shorter screw. And why that is when you get up here, so this pin will take this long slide will take the longer screw, this other slide will take the shorter screw on top, because you have to basically get underneath that pulley. So, and again, we're going to be working on this side. So let's get to it. Okay, since I'm shooting this from across the room, so I can get like everything into the visual field. Apologize if the audio is a little low. I've tried miking, but around so much metal and stuff, sometimes it gets kind of delayed. So I figured this would be the best. So anyway, each rod, you're going to have the top of them will have your screw holes. So you want to mount them on the innermost hole. And as you can tell, they will lean towards you, so you have just enough room to get the plates in. Okay, and first things first, you want to put both of these donuts down. These are the rubber donuts. And again, you always want to keep control of weight. You never want to be slapping the weight down, throwing the weight down, unless you're a power lifter and you're doing like a deadlift or a clean and jerk or something like that. You want to constantly keep control. That is going to get you the best muscular development on top of best control, and you're going to preserve your equipment because you don't want to be bouncing weight around, dropping stacks of weights and stuff like that. Wouldn't be good for iron plates. I've actually seen iron plates where you've dropped a stack, and I used to manage health clubs for a living and do personal training and everything else like that years ago. But anyway, what I've always noticed is when some guys let the plates, or girls, let the plates collapse down, the plates would actually crack in half, the cast iron plates. And it would be basically the reverse of the process that we're doing. These are a little more resilient because, like I said, they are cement filled and they are plastic. But cement, obviously, when it settles and it crushes and stuff like that, it will turn into like a powder and a dust. It will lose its rigidity on the stack. So you definitely kind of want to avoid doing that. Anyway, back into this. So you have your two donuts. You just slide them down the rails. Those are only two things you're permitted to drop like I did. Anyway, okay. So next you have basically your plates. So let me get closer. So this is the cap that the cement went on. And this is like kind of like your flat side. So on your gym set, I would leave this side on the out. So leave this clean face facing out this way. So it just has a cleaner look to it. And that cap goes to the back of the unit. Personal preference, but I think it just gives it a nicer look. And then that is your bottom. So you can kind of see where the key ridge is right here in the middle. So that's where your keyway is going to go when you're putting your pin in. And then the flat side, that goes up. And basically what I do is you want to put each one here, and you want to angle the rail, and then it slides right down. And then, like I said, just gently put it down into place. And then rinse and repeat the whole process. Okay, after you have them all stacked, just look on the side and make sure that they're all stacked in line. And then next you are going to be taking this pin guide, and you're going to unscrew the top. Get a little closer. So that comes out. Make sure you don't lose that washer. Put it back on. And then this is going to be like your set bolt. And this is going to be kind of tight, but definitely move it all the way to the top, meaning that's going to be the top. So if it's sitting this way. Then you want to take this pin guide and you want to slide it into your stack. then like this is kind of like your key weight. So put that on top. So it sits like that. Then you have your alternate piece. And sometimes that's a little tricky to get in, but make sure it's flared up this way. So you want to go that way, so the natural curve, because it's obviously going to hold your weight in place. And then you want to take this piece and basically put it back on top. And slide through the hole and then just start twisting it down. Now you don't want to go all the way down. You want to grab your pin and make sure that you put it onto like one of the plates, and then you basically kind of screw down, and you'll feel it start to get a little bit of tension. And when you do, stop, put the pin towards the bottom, and make sure it goes all the way through into the holes, so you know that that's going to be the right position for that. And then next you're going to have a pulley. So you have your pulley wheel, and you want to basically unscrew this top section. And you want to put your pulley wheel in place, making sure that you have the bolt and a washer, then a washer, and then your lock nut. So a washer sandwiches in between both. And check your pin alignment one more time. After you do that, you can lock this top nut down. And you do that with your open-end wrench. Get too far ahead of myself. So you want to slide this back, and what you are looking for is you'll feel these two holes up here. I'll kind of bring the camera closer, so hang on one second. So you have your hole configuration. So you have, this is a cable hole, cable, cable, cable. What you're doing is you basically are running this up on both sides. And they're gonna kind of like smooth around and slide into place. Sometimes you might have to twist it a little bit until it goes up. And then you wanna get these two bolts, and the longer one goes on this side, obviously. And then just slide that up and just twist it. And then, like I said, the shorter one goes on to the inner one, slightly underneath the pulley. You have just enough space to get access to that. And then you can kind of push the rod up, twist it into place. Okay, make it hand tight, both of them. Okay. And then with your open-end wrench, just give that a few more turns to tighten. And then on this one, you have to use the box end. And then just give it a good twist. And again, so that's your two bolts See how that one's like right underneath the pulley, and then we have that one off the back. So that's how that should look up there. Okay, before we start mounting the cables, we are going to go on to how to mount the next beam, which basically has all your accessory positions on it. And this is pretty straightforward. And then we will go through lacing the cabling through the whole system. But again, follow the guide, follow the instructions. You can't go wrong with that. And be very slow, careful, and double check your work as you run across. Okay, we're coming up to the next part where we are going to be mounting this piece here, and this is basically kind of like your cabling accessory pillar, and it has like a bunch of different holes put in it for all your different accessories, your bars, anything else you have. A couple things to pay special noteworthy too is these get basically put on the inside instead of the outside, because if you had it on the outside, it would actually interfere with the clearance. If you had any big plates on there, it would definitely crash into that. So you want to make sure that the orientation is that these selector knobs are both on the inside when you set this up. And orientation, you have 2 bolt holes up here and 1 bolt hole at the bottom, so it's pretty evident on what direction that they go to. Another telltale sign is this bottom pulley is slightly outwards on the bottom than the top, but again, there's only one way to really mount these inside, and then these will go through the columns up here. Disconnect the bolts. Each bolt has 2 washers on it, one for the hex side and one for the nut side, so pretty easy to do. And again, orientation of the cabling system actually amounts to the back here, and then you can kind of follow it through the whole pulley system, and that's how everything mounts through on that. So pretty easy to do, just follow along. So let's get to mounting. And the easiest way I've found is to kind of slide it out here on a little bit of an angle, and then they'll slide in, and then you can like swing it through the other side like that, and then on the other side we'll get the bolts ready. So that's all on the bottom. And then for safety on the top, we will hold this one up, lock that through, and then we can lock this into place. And again, just make it hand tight for now, and then we'll make everything a lot tighter at the end. We'll put this bottom one in, and then the second one, actually the third one that's stuck on the top. And get a washer on either side. Just gonna help sandwich that in. And your pulley system, like I said, rides up and down the track really nice. We'll put it probably right there for adjusting. And then this side. So this has your heavier duty pieces on it. So we want to disconnect and untangle these. They may or may not get tangled together, so I've typically successfully always knot these together, but hopefully you'll have some better luck than I do with these. And alright, let's start. Get some knotting. But I think we're just going to skip through. And we did. Successfully prevailing. Okay, so you want to work this backwards. So following along. So we're going to mount it through the middle here. And then we're going to go up. Up and over. So we're going to mount it through there. It's going to loop through here on the side. Let me get a better camera angle. Hang on a second. So following along at home, so basically we just came up from this lower pulley and came up across here. And we're going to mount this through the hole in the beam. Then we're going to go across to the topmost back pulley, if you can follow along and see that. Then we are going to go down this first hole. And then kind of out of frame. Give me a second. So if you can see, I came down this top hole up here. And then it basically comes through, runs up, and it's going to go back up through this top pulley. It's going to come across. And it's going to meet up with this next pulley. And then if you're following along, just have it kind of entangle itself through the pulley. And you're going to have it run down to the bottom. So then I'm coming down from that one pulley. I'm going to come underneath these two pulleys here. And then back up, and it's going to mount through here. So you can see how I have the tension all the way through. And then let's get the Allen key, we'll loosen it up, and then we'll thread this cable through here. Okay, so you basically want to loosen these up. And you can kind of see down the barrel, but you don't want them all the way out, but you want them all out enough that you can get this through here. And then you kind of want it poking up through just a little bit, just to keep it kind of like taut. And then just go through, and before you go too much further, you want to make sure that it looks like it's mounted on all the pulleys safely. And again, we'll tighten that up in a second here. And then we'll keep it as taut as you can. So like on this cable, I have probably like an inch out. And then you kind of want to tighten down symmetrically. And you'll kind of feel bottom out, but you want to make sure that you have this tight, but you don't want to like cut through the cable. So you want to give it enough force that it seems like that Allen key is not going to turn anymore. I think we're right about there. Okay, I think that's about it. Okay, now first test. You want to make sure you have everything kind of like safe and secure. All your pulleys are basically set up, and you have it on your first plate, and you just want to start running through and pull it. So you kind of want to pull that and just make sure that you have a good smooth run on all the pulleys, the whole pulley system. So that looks probably like about good. And then we can tighten up all the pulleys. Now that we know we're good, and give you so you can see as soon as I start making any type of movement, that's already moving for me. So we know that's good. So that side is good. So we can tighten all that down, and then basically And then basically on this side, it's basically rinse and repeat. Basically duplicate, replicate everything you did on that side, straight through here, go all the way through, and then just double check. But the diagram is pretty good to follow. Hopefully this part of the video will give you a lot better insight on how that goes. And then when you're done, you're gonna go through and you're gonna tighten everything down, and you should be good to go. Anyway, I think that is just about everything. If there's anything else, I'll make some footnotes and some extra little videos after this, so stay tuned. Okay, so the back part of the power cage is basically you run a cable underneath that pulley and it runs up, and then it will go into your double pulley. So that cable goes up, goes down, and then it's going to lock onto that. So that is your bottom set, so you can do like curls or you know, any type of like rowing exercise from that position. And then the other cable starts off here, runs up over the tower, then down through that pulley, up, over, and then to your basically your lat station that runs in the middle. So that's how that gets configured. Anyway, so all right, so this bottom landmine attachment. So this is pretty well bolted on. You just have to tighten it down. And then this attachment, same thing, comes loose like that. Put a washer on either side. And then you want to have it go through. Go through like that. Washer here. And then again, tighten it down. You have your landmine attachment here. Then you slip your landmine bar that you're going to use. And then you got this little wheel, and just make it snug. It doesn't have to be super tight, just so it stays in place. And then that's your landmine attachment. Okay, so the pin leash, what I like to do is basically it's kind of like a key ring. You got a little slot here. So you kind of like spread it apart with your thumbnail. And then usually you got enough room that you can start it just like you put a key on a key ring. And then a couple twists around. Then that's there. And then what I do is on the top you have your sleeve. And what I do is I just slip this ring down there, put your sleeve back into place, put it nice and tight, and then just wind this Allen key back down. So then that's sit behind there, and then your key has some place to basically be leashed onto. So that's that part. Okay, so make sure you go around and tighten up all the bolts to the frame to make sure everything's nice and secure. Same thing, make sure all your pulleys are nice and tight so you're not going to have any problems with that. You remember you had the adjustment screw on the top for your pin guide, so make sure that you have that in the right place. Also, don't bounce the weights up and down, and what I mean by that is not only, again, you don't want the weights to go crashing down. You want everything to be nice, slow, and controlled. You also don't want to kind of let this go and fly back, because there is an opportunity and a chance for the cable to jump over a pulley. So make sure, again, nice, slow, and controlled. Again, on a lot of the cabling and stuff, check that at least once a month, once a week if you're using it a lot. Just check for frays, make sure everything is lined up, that nothing is coming loose. Go through and check once a month all the bolts just to make sure that everything is tight and secure, that nothing is loose that's going to come loose on you during a lot of excess movement. All the accessories basically, like, they come out and they twist in, so basically just put it in, line it up, and then it'll lock into place for you. Same thing with your dip bars. They come out, they have that quick in and lock in place. The bottom piece for like your squat or your bench, and depending on what you're doing, same thing. It's basically just line the peg up and then down to the side. These can go all the way up and all the way down, so they can be in or out of your way depending on how you want that set up. And again, just check to make sure that everything is nice and straight, nice and secure. Run through. I like the WD-40, the chrome, probably like once a month or so, just to keep it nice and clean and lubricated all the way through. Make sure that your bar, same thing, when you're pulling it out, make sure the trowel is nice, make sure that it's, it doesn't get held up anywhere. Make sure that your safety pin is always on this side when you're doing the install. I think that is basically just about everything. But again, just make sure and go through and make sure that all the bolts are nice and snug, nice and tightened up, so you don't have anything coming loose on you. Do your weekly and monthly inspections of the entire cage. But other than that, that is pretty much everything. Again, I'll probably add some other like last minute notes on this, but this is a beautiful cage. It has all the opportunity for growth that you're gonna need up until you become like a super power lifter. If that's your goal, I mean, you can definitely do some heavier weights on this. The capacity and capabilities of this I'll put in the description for specifics. But again, it can definitely for somebody getting back into fitness, somebody starting in fitness, even amateur to professional athletes can absolutely positively use this. And I mean, it has all these different attachments for pull-ups and all sorts of different calisthenic exercises, as well as free weight exercises, as well as the Smith machine, safety brackets, dip cage, pull-up bars, lats, rows. I mean, you can do so many exercises on this thing. It's absolutely crazy. But anyway, Brian from Garage Mahal, thanks for watching, and be safe and healthy out there. All right, you also have these other little accessories that come with it, and these are basically to set yourself up. And go in nice and quick. Sometimes those are a little tricky because you got to count how many holes you have to make sure that you're set up right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have that at the right height. But you have that, and you also have an additional spotting side. So if you're doing like a bench, mount that one there. So again, this is going to be where you have your bar run across. And then these are going to be your spotters on this side. So again, another added safety on top of having a Smith machine. You can also do other bench type features or squat type features out from this side. Again, I prefer the Smith machine part because you always have a spotter there. But it's nice to know that you have a nice, strong receiver for your bar, as well as you have these extensions here that basically act as a spotter yourself. Again, always be safe. Always have a second person around when you're lifting, but it's good to know that you have a ability to have very sturdy, basically safety rails in place in case you get yourself into a position where you need a little extra help, safety spot. So the bar basically goes over on top of this. So again, it has a nice little cradle, little crevice in there. They'll hold that nice and secure, so you can load up your bar for whatever exercise that you're doing. And again, you have that spot down at the bottom, so that'll give you the extra margin of safety that you need. And it's nice and level, as long as your floor is level. Make sure that your floor is level wherever you are mounting this. But yeah, I mean, that is a great feature that I love on this. And again, everything is adjustable, so like if you want to go to like an incline press that you're starting off on, it's totally modular. You can go into your next position, like super easy and quick to transition to your next exercise. And on the outside of the rack, you have 1, 2, 3 spots that you can store weights on either side of your power rack. So you have the ability to be able to store a lot of weight. And again, the outside. And then on the top part of the Smith machine, in your power rack, you have the ability to do a variety of different handholds for pull-ups, chin-ups. I call them like lat-ups when you're really stretching your arms out to the outmost side. Then you have a ergonomically comfortable position to do some chin-ups on. And again, a lower, tighter hold lat pull-up that you can do. And then you have your lat bar attachment. And this is really smooth. This whole sled on this is really smooth going up and down. So that is a super nice feature and ability on this rack to be able to do lat pull downs. So another accessories that you can get are these D handles. Again, I have these available in the store, but it does come with these D handles so you can get started right away. However, I like accessorizing, so we got some other little D handles that you can add to the machine. And they are great. Like I says, anything you can think of, you can accessorize on this. So with the D handles, it gives you ability, and you can adjust these to any height. So if you're pretty tall, you can adjust these to any height that you need. I'll put that down kind of like shoulder height for me. But now you have the ability to be able to do cable flies, which is a great exercise for your chest. pretty awesome, and it's nice and smooth, as you can tell. Then if you wanted to work your back and your delts a little bit, you can do a cable crossover, so then you're exercising your back, working out pretty well. I like how that's a nice smooth action that you can do. And again, you have a pretty decent sized weight stack on here, so you can put whatever weight and whatever else that you're looking for exercise wise, so you can really challenge your body. And it's great that you can get different positions on a lot of things. Like if you want to go higher, if you want to do like some single-handed rows, you could do that. That way you can like really do like some concentration on that. And I love that it has this handle here that you can like hang on to and do like a different variety of different positions. So again, if you want to bring this down further and you wanted to do kind of like your side pull, you have a handle to hang on to, and you're able to get that done and accomplished. Quick transitions, it's like great. So again, if you want to go up higher, disconnect your D handle. And again, another accessory that we have available that you can get that doesn't come with the machine, but is kind of like sold separately. You can get a rope pull down, so you can really work your tri muscles on the way down. And again, with the pin selection and a weight stack, you can choose any weight that you want just to challenge yourself as you grow. So pretty versatile. And if you want to go into a overhead with your rope accessory, you can do that. And then with the D handles, you can also lower the rigs down, so now you can do like a front cable curl. I mean, it's enough versatility that you can get basically any major muscle group involved. And then we haven't even really gotten into the Smith machine, but you have the ability to set this up at any different height and angle that you needed. I mean, it goes down pretty low when you're sitting on top of the safety springs. But I mean, that's great if you are doing like a weighted shrug exercise, that you have your Smith machine available. You can lock it out so you can put a decent amount of weight on that. And then go into squats, so you can set your squat bar up, get yourself into position, make sure your legs are okay. And then you're doing squats. But anyway, just another example of some different exercises you can do on the machine. So another bonus that comes with this Smith machine is these dip handles. So you have a wide and a narrow grip, and pretty cool how they go in. So you just line them up at the hole that you need, and then you basically have a dip station, which is really cool. So you can do it typically reverse the other way, but I figure I'd kind of like show you this way as well. So pretty neat. So you got that. You also can do some like stiff arm leg lifts if you're in spot. I just got that doing a workout, so I'm a little on the tired side, but that gives you a general idea. So that is also another cool key feature of this. Again, heavy grade tubular steel. And again, you have those two handles. So another cool feature is you can basically use any regular weight bench that you have available, like a flat bench that does an incline. Like I'm doing an incline bench, and this works out great because you can come down, get a good stretch, and you can do your reps. And like I said, if you get into a little bit of trouble, you got the safety catches right here, or your starting point up there. So anyway, pretty neat feature of this. You can use any bench that you have around, or we do have a couple benches that you can choose from. So anyway, Brian from Garage Wall Fitness, I appreciate you taking your time to take a look at this Smith machine and rack system. You will absolutely love it, I assure you. And if you have any questions, I'm here to help. So be safe out there and healthy. Be safe and healthy.